It is Friday, April 20th, 20. Again, I should always check. It takes me that long to figure out what the heck day it is. But it is, we are here for the weekly recap of what's been going on at Totally Guitars. And it was kind of a, this was definitely a throwback week. I know some people say, hey, all you do is old stuff, and this week we did really old stuff. Except for one thing. We stepped into the world of Marcy Playground for a minute. But that's still a little bit old, but not much compared to the really old stuff that we did. So a lot of cool things going on in the Target program, a lot of new packs, some big news about the banner. Well, I guess now that I brought that up, it's been found, and that is so cool. So really need to thank everybody that put in the effort to track down the TG banner that is making a tour of the world. I think it's still in the United States right now, but at least it's back in the hands of folks who know what it's all about, and it means something too, which is really, really exciting. So, so our little drama with the banner is over, and it's back on its around the world in 80 days. We should track this down. It's been way more than 80 days. This thing has been traveling for maybe close to a year. I don't know. Somebody out there track down the when that the Canadian New Englanders or whoever that was got together back in I think it was a hotel in New York, and started this whole mess. So, but let me get to some of the things that happened this week and a little bit about next week, and maybe a little bit of playing. I'm not sure yet. Let's see, this week we had no John Fahey songs, no Neil Young songs, but we did go all the way back to Buddy Holly and threw out one of his biggest hits. And as I recall, that lesson, yes, that lesson was done as an ear training lesson, so hopefully you didn't see what I just did right there, if you're still working on doing that lesson. As was a later lesson, the one that came out today, I believe. Okay, don't watch, figure this out. So we stepped from the late 50s into the mid 60s with Donovan and Sunshine Superman, and then into the really late 60s with a guitar song written by a keyboard player in Chicago. This is, of course, Robert Lamb's tune, Beginnings, that showed up on the first Chicago album. One of, as you know, I've done a few Chicago tunes, although so far it's only been Color My World and this one, and there might be more. I don't know if we're going to get to this or not. Whether this can work out as an acoustic guitar song, or maybe this one. I don't know. We'll see. I do love those guys, as most of you know, and I'm always thinking about doing more Chicago tunes, but they tend to not lend themselves very well to just a solo guitar, that's for sure, because part of the appeal with them is the horns. Speaking of horns, I've been listening to a lot of early horn bands lately, including contemporary of theirs, Blood, Sweat and Tears, although I could never quite figure out why they didn't grab me as much, and I realized that one of the differences was great horn sections, great arrangements, great songs. Chicago wrote all their songs, and Blood, Sweat and Tears wrote very few of their tunes. In the slightly later version, they had a great Carole King tune, Snow Queen, thrown in with Herbie Hancock's Maiden Voyage. So if you haven't heard that album, it was their 5th album called New Blood. But anyway, it kind of got me on this path of where did this horn thing really come from? And just a quick little sideline into it, that set me back to listening to bands that preceded and predated these guys. Of course, Blues Project, sort of Al Cooper sort of led into Blood, Sweat and Tears with his interest. An earlier band, or contemporary at the same time, Electric Flag had horns, Mike Bloomfield's band. But I think the real beginnings go back even further to 1966 and the Buckinghams. So I've been listening to the Buckinghams lately, and they were pretty interesting. So, okay, I should really get back to, this was not meant to be so rambling, but one of the things, speaking of rambling, now let me get back to the content first. And then, along with the 3 Target tunes, we also put out 3 packs for our non-Target members that like to have, well, packs of songs. And one was a Buddy Holly pack, so we've now got a Buddy Holly 6-pack that includes things like Peggy Sue, and That'll Be the Day, and Not Fade Away, and all of Buddy's, well, 6 of Buddy's really cool things. we put out a 6-pack of tunes by Donovan, because we had some earlier ones, Mellow Yellow and Colors, some kind of folky ones, and then the psychedelic ones, Season of the Witch and stuff like that. So also reached back into our Canadian influences, and we now have a 6-pack available of the Guess Who and the great tunes by Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings. Gotta make some of them cryptic. Anyway, so for folks who like to pick up their songs in or their lessons in artist packs, 3 new ones to add to the agenda. So we're kind of pumping out a lot of stuff. Speaking of pumping out a lot of stuff, no, I'll get back to that later. A couple of student reviews, and one of them, many of you have had some really interesting comments on my teenage student Jacob. He always brings in interesting songs, and a while ago we broke out YouTube and dug up another tune by Marcy Playground, I believe, and it was called Opium. So if you want to see our step into semi-modern technology or music world, be sure to check that one out. And then, of course, one of our longtime contributors, Fred, who's willing to contribute by letting me shoot every one of his lessons. He's been working on beginnings, so we had those, and those were the fly on the wall videos that we put up this week, and then a couple student reviews on some slightly unusual things. One was Badfinger's tune Day After Day, and the other was even weirder, because it was a song that we don't have in the target program, but it generated enough interest that somebody put it up, of course, and I added a few little suggestions to it. But it was Nick Drake. So if many of you are not familiar with Nick, he was a great songwriter in the early 70s, English, and and dates crossing a little bit here, but still, and unfortunately talented and troubled, and didn't make it out of the 70s, but wrote some great songs that luckily are still with us. So I appreciate our member, I believe it was Matt, that put up was it? No, could be wrong. Okay, I'm trying to remember too many things at the same time. So let me check. That was the main stuff, the banner, and I think the thing I want to end with is a little bit about next week. And I do want to thank everybody who's been hanging around with us for a long time, because we are coming up on the 3rd anniversary of our launching the Target program. And so kind of in honor of that, we have been building up a lot of stuff that is, well, I can't tell you what it is because it's too exciting. But some of it is going to be some songs that have been floating around for a long time that people have heavily requested. Now, they may not necessarily be requested on the recommend a lesson list. They might be things like, I'm not sure if we're going to go there, or maybe into, let me think, what is this? Well, I should have had a better plan. But anyway, I am reaching back into the archives for some things that I've been meaning to get to and haven't. So we've got some, and then a lot of new stuff out there too. Some new stories from people like Jack, and then kind of a special, little special video will show up in the middle of the week, I hope, too, if I get around to it. But kind of a little retrospective, or a 3-year wrap-up. 1,000 days. How many? No, more like 1,100 days in 3 years. So do want to thank everybody that's hung with us for that long, and actually for everybody that's joined along the way, wherever that may have been too. But next week we will review a little bit of some of the highlights of the last 3 years, at least for me, and possibly for some of the other folks that are heavily involved in the program. Of course, I'm mostly talking about my partner Matt, who has been working on a lot of things lately, but staying a little bit behind the scenes. So want to shout out a special hello to Matt this week. Also, if I don't get a chance to get to this next week, I guess I have to wish my sister Ann a happy birthday on Monday. So, happy birthday, Annie, and I'm signing off. I'm going to go back to practicing and playing some songs that I really like as I keep experimenting with some interesting things. It's time to take up the harmonica, huh? Nah, I like to talk too much. Okay, I'm out of here. Really excited about what I'm going to be bringing out next week, and hope to see you then.